All right, hello and welcome. So have you ever wondered if getting, really good at one thing, maybe a video game, maybe a musical instrument, can actually make you better at something totally different? Like, say, your job or your schoolwork? Well, today, we're gonna unlock the real science behind how skills can jump from one part of your life to a completely different one. Let's dive right in.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, right? We've all seen the ads, we've heard the claims. Can playing these games really make you smarter? Like, can spending hours on some brain training app or a deep strategy game actually boost your intelligence in the real world? It's a super appealing idea for sure, and it's really the core of what we're gonna unpack today. Okay, so let's start with the brain training promise. This whole industry, a multi-million-dollar market, was basically built on this one huge idea, that you could do these specific little exercises and get these massive, broad mental benefits in your everyday life. And the biggest example, you've probably heard of them, is Luminosity. They told millions of people that playing their simple, kind of fun games could do incredible things. Not just, get better at the game. No, they claimed it would improve your memory, sharpen your attention, and even make you perform better at your job or in school. And hey, that's a pretty compelling pitch. $2 million. But here's the thing, that big promise, it came under some serious fire. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, stepped in and challenged those claims, basically calling them deceptive. And the result? The company behind Lumosity had to pay $2 million back to customers because there just wasn't enough solid science to back up their ads.
All right, next up, the transfer problem. So what went wrong here? I mean, why doesn't getting good at a memory game automatically help you find your car in a packed parking lot? Well, this gets us to a really core concept in how our brains work, and it's called the transfer problem.
So the fancy term for this whole idea is transfer of learning. It's pretty straightforward. It's just the process of taking something you learned in one context and using it in a totally new situation. But, and this is a big but, it's not nearly as simple as it sounds. Turns out there are two very, very different kinds of transfer. And you've got to understand this difference because it's absolutely crucial. On one side, you've got near transfer. This is the easy one. You play a game, you get better at that game. That's pretty much what all those brain training apps do. But then, there's far transfer. And this is the holy grail. This is the idea of taking skills from that game and having them actually improve your focus at your job or help you find your car. This is so hard to do, and it's exactly where the whole brain training promise kind of fell apart. Okay, new section, from chess to brain games. Now, to really get a grip on this challenge, let's talk about chess for a minute. We all think of it as the ultimate brain workout, right? But even in the world of chess, this transfer problem is a huge deal. Even the legend himself, Bobby Fischer, saw a major problem. He said, it's not degenerated down to memorization and prearrangement like it is today. What he meant was that high-level chess was becoming less about creative, strategic thinking and more about just memorizing thousands of opening moves. That's a perfect example of near transfer. Players were basically becoming walking databases of chess moves, but the question is, was it actually making them better general problem solvers? So Fischer was so frustrated by this that he actually championed a different version of chess, and its name is connected to this number you see right here, 960. So, what's that all about? Well, here's the genius of it. Chess 960, or freestyle chess, completely randomizes the starting position of the main pieces. That's where the 960 comes from. There are 960 possible starting setups. This one simple tweak totally blows up road memorization. You can't rely on your memorized openings anymore. From the very first move, you are forced to think about the deep, abstract principles of strategy, and that is what forces you to practice real, genuine far transfer. Okay, let's move on to the power of analogy. So if we want to get that awesome far transfer that chess 960 players are forced to use, how does our brain actually pull it off? Well, the secret is a tool that you and I use literally every single day. Analogy. The cognitive scientist Douglas Hofstadter put it perfectly. Analogy is the core of cognition. Think about that. Analogy isn't just some clever thing writers use. No, it's the fundamental way our brains make sense of the world. It's how we understand a new thing by comparing it to something we already get. It's literally the engine of learning transfer. So here's the absolute key. Far transfer happens when we can look past the surface stuff, the chess pieces, the numbers on a spreadsheet, and see the deep underlying structure of a problem. It's about realizing that, hey, a military strategy and a business plan might actually have the same deep structure, or that the way heat flows in physics is a lot like how money flows in an economy. And you can actually turn this into a deliberate process. Check this out. Step 1. When you're looking at a new problem, what we'll call the target, don't just dive in. Stop and really analyze its deep structure. Step 2. Search your memory for a familiar problem, the source, that you've solved before, one that feels like it has the same bones. And finally, step 3, you have to consciously map the relationship between the two. How does the solution from your old problem help you with this new one? All right, section 5, building a mental bridge. This whole process, this conscious mapping of connections, experts call that building a mental bridge. And the key word there is conscious. This isn't something that just happens automatically. You have to build it on purpose.
And there's a name for this deliberate process. It's called high road transfer. It's the total opposite of that automatic low road transfer, which is just repeating something you've practiced a million times. High road transfer, that takes real effort. It's about pausing, being mindful, and intentionally looking for those deeper connections between completely different things.
So how do you find these deep principles to actually transfer? Well, there's a really cool idea for this called functional decomposition. Let's use cooking as an example. The surface features are just the ingredients in one specific recipe. But the core functions, those are things like managing heat, or balancing sweet and sour, or creating an emulsion. Once you get those functions, you can create a ton of different dishes, right? It's the same in chess. Don't just see the knight and the bishop. See the underlying functions, like resource management or controlling space. Those are the things you can actually transfer to other parts of your life.
So, what's the big takeaway for you here?
Look, it's not enough to just practice something over and over. You have to reflect on what you're practicing. Break your skills down into their most fundamental principles, that whole functional decomposition thing. Then start actively looking for analogies for those same patterns in completely new situations. Get in the habit of asking yourself that one simple question. Where have I seen a problem like this before? That question, right there, is how you start building the mental bridge for FAR transfer.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to chew on. The next time you decide to learn something new, I don't care if it's a new software, a new language, a new hobby, don't just practice the surface level steps. Stop and ask yourself, what is the hidden principle here? What's the deep structure of what I'm learning? And then, where else in my life can I use it? Answering that might be the key to unlocking your brain's real power. Thanks for joining me.